And we do it not just through words, but deeds. The European Union and its member states is the major contributor to the United Nations system. We are the largest development and humanitarian donor, with more than half of the overall international assistance. We are also the largest trading bloc in the world, and the largest source and recipient of direct foreign investment. We have signed more free trade agreements in these last 5 years than at any other time. And we are putting much focus on future agreements, for instance, with the United States, with Japan, and also we are negotiating an investment treaty with China. We were at the origins of the creation of the G20, the summits of G20 after the financial crisis. And that was our contribution to create a way to involve emerging economies in the issues of global economic governance. For the European Union, both internally and internationally, economic and political integration has always been a means to bring people, societies, and countries closer together, with an end to promote values, common values of democracy, rule of law, peace, and cooperation. These were also the principles that were at the basis of our Eastern Partnership, initiated in 2009. What happens in the countries in Eastern Europe and the Southern Caucasus matters to the European Union. The countries of this region are now closer neighbors, and their security, stability, and prosperity are also a strategic interest of the European Union. We have therefore proposed a framework for closer cooperation based on principles and values, and establishing 4 major objectives: political association, economic integration, mobility of people, and increased sectoral cooperation. This was always an offer, a proposition, never an imposition. This was also designed to promote more regional cooperation between Eastern partner members and their neighbors. We have added a multilateral dimension into the partnership to this effect. We were also open to the idea of differentiation. Ideally, all countries will be closely associated to the European Union, but depending on their circumstances and specificities, we were ready to accommodate. So it's not a one-size-fits-all model. We are looking for tailored mechanisms adapted to different circumstances. And that's what we proposed to Ukraine. We negotiated an agreement for more than 5 years. The agreement was initialed, and then at the last moment, the previous government decided not to sign it because of outside pressure. They said to us very openly that they wanted to sign it, but they could not because of outside pressure. We were extremely disappointed, but we also respected their decision, as we have respected with other countries that did not want to sign the agreement. The case of Armenia is well known. They don't want, okay, they have that right. However, the Ukrainian people reacted, felt betrayed by this decision, decided to take their future in their own hands, and you know how the story unfolded. This was never meant to be, from our side, a power game with Russia. We do not seek exclusivity in our relations. Namely, in trade, we see trade as a win-win. We don't have an idea of having exclusive trade agreements with any country in the world. On the contrary, regarding Russia, we have also heavily invested throughout these years in a good relation with that country. It's, of course, a very important country that I personally consider part of the great European civilization. We also offered Russia a new agreement, which was aimed at bringing our strategic partnership to an ambitious level. Our agreements with Eastern partners countries are perfectly compatible with existing FTAs, free trade areas, that partner countries have with Russia. We remain interested in having good relations with Russia. We are also neighbors. No one is interested in going back to a past of confrontation, at least no one in the European Union. But for that to happen, Russia and all our partners need to abide by international norms and values. And of course, it is imperative to respect the sovereign decisions of our common neighbors. Ladies and gentlemen, this wider picture shows that globally and between the European Union, the Eastern Partnership, and here in Azerbaijan, we have common challenges which require appropriate national, regional, international responses. Azerbaijan was always historically a gateway. That's, I think, part of the charm of this country. When you look at the literature, when you look at history, this transition, this capacity to be related to different other countries and civilizations, this is part, I believe, of your identity, of your personality. I like to look at countries sometimes as I look to people. Each person has a personality, different by definition. Countries also have different personalities, and I think it's good. I think it will be not interesting if all the countries look alike. It will be very boring, at least for foreign policy analysts and for foreign policy experts. But you have this characteristic. Azerbaijan is a land of in-betweenness, if I can use this word in my poor English, in-betweenness, where the West meets the East. What we have proposed to you is precisely a partnership that reinforces this status, that brings Azerbaijan closer to Europe, while remaining a bridge to other parts of the world. That I'm sure is the interest of Azerbaijan, not to have exclusive relations to one country or one bloc of countries. We are already close partners in many respects. We have a strategic partnership on energy, which is the backbone of our relationship. The European Union remains Azerbaijan's main trading partner with bilateral trade flows worth 17.9 billion euros. So it's probably $25 billion. In 2013, it means more than 42% of Azerbaijan trade. 50% of your exports go to the European Union. 30% of your imports come from the European Union. But I think we can do even better. And this is why, in the framework of the Eastern Partnership, we made a proposal to Azerbaijan to conclude an association agreement. This agreement should be based naturally on values such as democracy, fundamental freedoms, and rule of law. These are the common values of the Eastern Partnership. This is very important. We really believe that the long-term stability and prosperity of a country can only be achieved with respect of democracy and also of a civil society. Sometimes it seems easier to go the authoritarian way. It's a mistake, because sooner or later those tensions will appear. It's much better for the long-term stability to invest in a society where every man, every woman understands that it is in his or her own interest to live in that society, so that it is able to protect it if there are attacks, fundamentalist attacks or attacks of another kind. So this is what I believe is so important. And by the way, today, together with President Aliyev, we had a very open and friendly discussion about these important issues. We believe it's important for a country, and it's possibly a more advanced democracy, of course, to have a real multi-party democracy and a free and independent judiciary, not only politically but economically, because that creates and reinforces confidence in the long term of the country. That's why we are able to discuss these issues with Azerbaijan, how we can give a form to our relationship. And just today, discussing this with President Aliyev, we have agreed that we should now conclude a strategic modernization partnership, which can serve as a guiding document for our practical cooperation. We are interested in supporting the political, economic, and societal modernization of Azerbaijan as expressed in Azerbaijan 2020 strategy. This strategic modernization partnership, there have been already some negotiations, should be established sooner rather than later. Together with President Aliyev today, we have agreed that it should be concluded in next months, so that we could sign it very soon. I think it could be a very good way of giving the relationship between the European Union and Azerbaijan this solid framework that it needs. Our relation has been evolving without new agreements, it is true. But if you look at the last agreements, they are outdated. They were made in another situation that has nothing to do with the current, much more, let's say, modern situation of Azerbaijan. As part of our relation, we are also interested, but I make it clear, this is not the only interest. We are interested in developing the strategic energy partnership that is so vital for both of us. It's very important economically, but also from a strategic point of view in terms of security of supply. We have made good progress towards making the Southern Gas Corridor a reality, a vision that I launched here in Baku with President Aliyev 3 years ago. That is the idea to link the world's biggest single market, Europe, to the world's largest concentration of hydrocarbons, this is this region. At that time, many people said it will not fly, it will not work because of this and this. When there is a vision in the project, there are always people that are saying a lot of buts. They are always expressing difficulties. The reality is that it's happening. It's happening. You see in the ground. This is a project that can encourage greater economic cooperation, improve energy security, create over 30,000 jobs in all countries along the corridor, that already in the first phase. Our objective remains that the entire infrastructure project along the corridor will be operational in time by 2019. This is as important for European energy security as it is for the future economic development of Azerbaijan. We also want to go beyond official contacts and foster closer links between our people and society. So our relationship is not just a relationship with the governments and the public